you're still watching Prime Morning. It's a Wednesday, and so you know how we do it on Wednesdays. We bring you the big interview. Now, in the beginning, we told you who our guest is, right? Well, he's here. Before we delve deeper to get to know more about him, I want you to know that it's election year. How many days more? 53 days to go to the polls to cast your vote. And your vote is your power. They're still campaigning. They have a lot of policies. But who you're voting for is up to you. Who you love their policy and who you think can implement that policy to have a better Ghana is up to you. And so I want you to take a look at his profile video, and when we come back, we'll get talking to him this day.
Kwame Owusu Danso is a dynamic professional with a diverse background in law, broadcasting, corporate affairs, and political analysis. He currently holds the position of General Manager of Corporate Affairs and Legal at Trazaco Group, where he combines his legal expertise with his extensive experience in business analysis, marketing, and communications. Over the years, Kwame has held prominent roles in media, including hosting shows on Capital TV, and has worked with leading companies such as Airtel Ghana. Kwame's academic journey includes a degree in sociology from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and an LLB from the University of London, along with professional legal training in Rwanda and at the Ghana School of Law. He was called to the Ghana Bar in 2023, solidifying his career in law. Beyond his corporate and legal roles, Kwame is deeply involved in youth empowerment, having founded Kwame Inspires, a platform dedicated to motivating young people to achieve their full potential. His commitment to driving positive change has earned him numerous awards, including recognition for his contributions to youth development and the tourism industry. As board chairman of the Youth Excellence Awards and convener of the Forum for Accountable Governance, Kwame continues to advocate for the empowerment of young people and the promotion of accountable governance in Ghana. Today on our big interview, Kwame Owusu Danso, Esquire, is our guest. Stay tuned.
So you see who my guest is. He is actually the running mate for the Movement for Change group. They're not a political party yet. One day they will be a political party. Hopefully, I'm going to ask him if it will happen. But for now, they are a movement. And so if you believe in this movement and you are tired of the duopoly and you think they are the next savior for Ghana, then you ought to stay glued to your television set for this conversation. Kwame Owusu Danso.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's good to have you here.
Likewise.
Right.
I'm happy to be here.
Let me say congratulations.
Right.
And let me ask you how it feels like.
I think, well, thank you very much. It's surreal to be noticed by a political giant like Kyerematen. It means you are doing something good. It means you are representing something. And for me, when I was mentioned, even though I was surprised, I took solace in the fact that, I have been noticed for doing and being consistent with pushing an agenda and, trying to change the political narrative in Ghana, and particularly also representing the youth, So that gave me some comfort that at least what we were doing has been recognized. And the recognition has led to me being the running mate to Kyerematen.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And when you say you were surprised, is it that he didn't have a conversation with you behind the scenes? Yeah. So you didn't know anything that day, you just came and your name was mentioned? Is that what happened?
I think great minds are able to identify great talents. And even though we did not have prior discussions, it was just like 2 days to the submission. And he walked up to me and said, "You're my running mate."
Just like that?
Yeah, just like that,
2 days to?
2 days to, yeah. Because I probably had like a list of about 23 young people, because he had before then intimated that he was going to nominate a younger person.
Okay.
Just to change the political, architecture of this country. Because oftentimes it's always been the septuagenarians, the octogenarians, people within a certain age bracket, But he wanted to just break that jinx of not relying, constantly on persons who are just 60 years or and the likes.
Yeah.
So I mean, he had about 23 people that he had penned down, but it appears that none of them met his criteria. Fortunately, I engaged with him about 3 weeks prior, and I'm sure he was monitoring me, and eventually the baton was given to me. So yeah, I just appreciate it. But again, like I said, great minds are able to identify great talent. And once I've been nominated and I accepted, I just have to make sure that I also create that that atmosphere that will give confidence to a lot of the young people that if you are focused on your journey and you are determined to do something, just go all out. Somebody will be watching, people will be watching, and you could be next.
Have you been a personal friend of his for a long time?
No. No. But I've always admired him.
Okay.
Back in the day when I was in Kyerematen, I think sometime around 2006, 2006 thereabout, he had visited Kyerematen, and he exuded such aura that I could identify with. I just liked him. He's personable, he's lovely, he's likable, he's affable. So I think that I just liked him. But I didn't have that personal connection. So when I got the opportunity to interview him on a program that he himself designed, to explain his great transformational plan, it was such a delight for me because then I got the opportunity to now sit with him and to engage with him. And
How long ago was this?
This was just about, last month, 2 months ago.
2 months ago?
Yeah.
And that's when you interviewed him?
Absolutely.
That was the first time you actually had...
That was the first time I actually had, that tete-a-tete with him, one-on-one tete-a-tete.
So you're not one of the people that left the NPP to join Movement for Change?
No. I mean, if you followed my journey, you would notice that I've been a journalist for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing my corporate stuff as the general manager, corporate affairs and legal for Trasaco Group, as the morning show host on Pan-African television. So I had no political leanings or affiliations. But of course, I mean, as Ghanaians, we'll all have parties that we lean towards. You get the point. But I just feel like the movement resonated with what I stand for. That we must get to a point in our political dispensation where the narrative will be moved from just the duopolistic, architecture that we've been experiencing for the past 32 years, which obviously has not really yielded any positive results. I mean, we are just stuck in a cycle of the duopoly. It's been 16 years apart for these two political parties. So when he started the movement where young voices will be heard, I resonated with it. I found it very progressive, and I thought that this is an opportunity for our voices to be heard, and for our voices to be amplified through this movement. Because you would agree with me, undoubtedly, that if you're looking at the political elites that we have in this country, Alan Kyerematen's stature is unparalleled. I mean, I think that he, amongst all of them, is a towering figure in our political, in our political space. And for me, it was an opportunity, just to learn to begin with, and also to contribute significantly to the change that he's desirous of bringing to the good people of Ghana.
I want you to take off your side of being a part of the Movement for Change group. I want you to wear your gown of a journalist now. I want you to wear your gown of a lawyer now, and be very honest with people who are watching us. Before you joined Movement for Change, did you think they had a chance in 2024's elections?
Let me tell you, surprisingly, I think I did a post after he exited the MPP on Facebook, and it surfaced. I mean, when I was nominated, I'm on record to have indicated that it is going to be a very interesting times within this political space, particularly because, given who he is and looking at how far he's come in terms of his political career and even his personal and private career, I think that, he is going to change the dynamics of our political experiment. And so, yeah, of course, I mean, I knew that, given the fact that he's such a towering figure in the political experiment, he is actually going to change the dynamics. And for me,
he can't change the dynamics. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
He's a fantastic gentleman.
Yeah.
He's delivered wherever he's found himself. But do you think that Ghanaian people will give him the mandate to do that?
Let me be quite honest with you. Osagyefo's dream was poo-pooed and, you know, shall I say disrespected? Until he gained independence for the Republic of Ghana. Oftentimes, genius minds are considered crazy. But then they do it, and then you're like, oh, he was crazy, but he's done it. Look, the exit of Honorable Alan Kyerematen perhaps is the beginning of a redefining moment for our politics in Ghana. Because if you check, and look, I've traversed the country since I was confirmed. I've been to Oti region, I've been to the Central region. I just returned from the Central region. And
how many regions have you visited so far?
So far I've done two.
Two regions.
I'm going to do a lot more. But I can tell you without any iota of hesitation that if you look at the level of despondency that greeted me in those regions is quite frustrating, but unsurprising because people have experienced this cyclical duopoly that we've been enjoying for the period. I mean, for the past 32 years, we've had NDC 16 years, we've had MPP 16 years, right? So people have not really experienced any other aspect of governance except the duopoly.
Yeah.
And this time, a lot of people did not want to vote. I kid you not. The market women, the people in the villages, they did not want to vote because they said they voted for 32 years, nothing has happened. Now, I made them understand that Ghana is a multi-party democratic system. It is not a two-party democratic system.
Right.
But our minds have been conditioned to accept the unrealistic system that we are practicing. I mean, it is not a two-party system, okay? But somehow, our minds have been conditioned to accept that as being the reality. And so, bringing that to the fore, the people now began to appreciate the fact that then they have options, okay? If two parties are not delivering and further advancing your aspirations, then you have an opportunity to try another party that can effectively maybe bring the change that you're looking for.
But Kwame, you see, we have 16 regions. Sorry to cut you. We have 16 regions. You've done 2.
Yep.
We have barely 53 days to cast our votes. When you were announced as the running mate, it's been over a month now, right?
Yes.
And you've done only 2 regions.
Less than a month.
Less than a month, okay. But probably like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, you've done only 2 regions. If we take a look at the number of regions left, how many people can you go and convince to vote for Movement for Change?
Again, I do not intend to disclose our strategy. Elections are 80% strategy, 20% execution.
Okay.
So I know exactly what we are doing. However, it does not negate the fact that the despondency across the board is axiomatic. I mean, people tell you so openly that we are tired of the NDC and the MPP for 32 years, but they just need a viable option.
Yeah.
And that is where Movement for Change comes in. We are presenting that viable option. We are giving the people an opportunity to, you know, feel a different side of politics they've not experienced yet. And that is what we are presenting. And for me, you know, there's no gainsaying the fact that Alan Kyerematen is the person who is going to present that. Unfortunately, like I told you, because Ghana is a multi-party democratic dispensation, you have a lot of people aspiring to lead this country, right? But amongst all of them, 3 of them, you know, stand tall. You're looking at His Excellency Alan himself, His Excellency John Mahama, His Excellency Baumia. These are the 3 most, shall I say, important political figures, you know, in this particular election. Amongst the 3 of them, one has been.
You don't think Cheddar stands a chance?
Do you think so?
Force? No?
Do you think so?
Just ask on behalf of
the I think we should get serious. I mean, the three.
He's not.
Please, let's get serious. You know exactly. Well, we are all journalists. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But the point is that if you're looking at people who are desirous of bringing real change and not advancing their own personal ambitions or wanting to get into politics for parochial gains, right? The 3 of them are the ones that we may have to consider. However, Amongst the three of them, if you're looking at the one person who is quite significant in that equation, is His Excellency Kyerematen, undoubtedly. Because if you look at his life even before politics, 22 years, he was a general manager for Unilever. 38 years, was invited by Mandela when he was released from prison to help build the South African economy. So, I mean, this is somebody who comes into this contest with a huge experience, you know, with such you know, candor, with exuding such aura and respect, you know, because he's never really held that office before. So he comes in with that experience. He comes in with that new mindset. You know, he comes in with that ingenuity. He comes in with that creativity to bring salvation to the good people of Ghana. He's known across, look, I kid you not, everywhere I have visited, at the mention of his name, people are just, you know, exuberated. People are just happy.
Undoubtedly, he can do the job. That will say anywhere, anytime. This man is a fine gentleman. We've seen what he's done. We see what he can do. The only thing is, Ghanaians out there, especially those in the rural areas.
So exactly, and those are the people we are touching. But I'll come to that. But let me just give you this simple analysis. So you are looking at what? A country which is about 33 million. Now, out of the 33 million, data will tell you that MPP has about, let's say, 500,000 following. MPP has about 500,000 following. When you take that out from the 33 million, you're looking at 32, right? Let me even assume that persons who are below the ages of 18, 18 and below, let me give them 20 million. If you take 20 million out of the 32, you're getting 12. So the 12 million that we have are people who do not necessarily belong to any political party. So if all the 12 million say, listen, we have had enough of the MPP and the NDC for about 32 years, we want to give His Excellency Kyerematen the opportunity to also demonstrate what he can do, he will win this election hands down. That's the whole point. Because if you check the figures, you're looking at just people who have won elections, 5 million, 6 million. Nobody has ever had 10 million before.
No, nobody.
So if we are able to get 10 million, what makes you think we cannot win? And, you know, this whole erroneous assumption created, you know, that, oh, an independent candidate cannot govern, I find it very laughable. You know, for this very simple reason, that the fact that the Constitution recognizes that an independent candidate can actually contest and become a president means that that person can be given that tool to work and operate. Again, he is trying to set up or build a government of national unity. And I'll explain to you why. If you look at the duopoly, and that is why oftentimes our elections have been characterized by blood and, you know, fights and violence and things like that, right? It is because it's a do or die affair for the two parties. It is because of the winner takes all syndrome that if this person does not win the elections, it means that his people will not get anything to do. So they have to now fight tooth and nail to ensure that they win it. Kyerematen is saying that we need to move away from that. We need to build a government of national unity, a government where it does not matter which political party you belong to.
When you go out there, you speak to the people, which of your policies do people jump on?
So again, the first one is the government of national unity, you know, where people identify with. That we've gotten to a point where we need to bring everybody together, because these two political parties are dividing the nation, and that's a fact, you know. So people are looking for a more unified country, a country where, you know, people will be given opportunities not on the basis of their allegiance to a political party, or not on the basis of, you know, holding a party card, for instance, right? But on the basis of just being a Ghanaian. That once you're a Ghanaian and there are opportunities, you will get those opportunities. The second one that people identify with is the issue about the, you know, for instance, in the urban and the peri-urban communities, we're looking at the issue of rent. I mean, people identify with it because you have the Rent Act. Section 25(2) of the Rent Act is clear that you cannot charge rent beyond 6 months. But what are we experiencing? So we're going to redefine the whole, you know, housing scheme in order that the young people will get the opportunity to rent without any headache.
So what's your scheme that you're bringing on board? What's yours?
So first of all, it's a matter of enforcement.
Okay.
That the law is clear.
So you're going to enforce the 6 months?
Strictly enforce the law.
Why did you go to 1 month, 1 month? Why 6 months?
No, the 6 months is what the law has prescribed.
No, so
now, but again, people would even love the 6 months. Because right now what we have is 2 years, okay? So you need to, you need to identify the problems, and then you proffer solutions that work. But in the interim, the stopgap measure that we can put in place is to ensure the enforcement of the law.
Okay.
And once we ensure the enforcement of the law, invariably that will create that, that room for us to have a broader conversation and see what the people need so that we can give them what they need. But the point I'm trying to establish here is that we need to make sure that we enforce strictly what the law says. And once we enforce what the law says, all these young people who graduate from the universities, some of them are posted from maybe Tamale to Accra. And in the area that I live, single room self-contained is 1,800. How much do they earn a month?
Are you bringing it down?
No, of course, we're going to have a regulated rent scheme beyond the law.
Okay.
So we're going to have a platform where anybody who intends to use their properties for rent, you will have to register.
Right.
Young people who were employed within that space.
So a high possibility these banks that if you investigate and they did not deserve a closure will be brought back.
Absolutely.
John Dramani Mahama is saying the same thing, so you're singing the
No,
song,
but
right?
again, whose manifesto came out first?
Okay.
Ours is a plan. It's not a manifesto. Manifestos are promises. So that is what we are going to do. Now, once we are done, then a real definition will be given to what corruption is. A real definition will be given to what conflict of interest is. Because as we speak today, now, when you use your position of power to get contracts, for instance, or to benefit from the state, that, in our estimation, is conflict of interest.
Okay.
But in many instances, when His Honorable Ken Oforiatta's company was mentioned, pari passu with his operations in government, the outright conclusion was that it was not conflict of interest. So if that is not conflict of interest, what is?
Okay.
So we need to clearly define them so that we can be able to, deal with them holistically. But clearly, everybody who has been corrupt in this administration will be dealt with. That I can assure you.
Jailed?
Of course. I mean, we deal with laws in this country. And if investigations are conducted, there's prima facie evidence established against these persons and, convicted, of course, why not? We will make sure of that.
Most businessmen and women are closing down their businesses because they claim that the importation duties are very, very high. What are your plans for that?
So, again, first of all, the issue about importation for us is even a problem, right? So we will try to deal with it. But in the meantime, we're going to ensure that there's some uniformity in how we charge, the freight and all of that, right? Because then, for instance, when you are importing a vehicle, and even yesterday I was having a discussion with a friend of mine on this same issue, that you are purchasing a car in the United States of America, you know exactly how much you're paying for the car. You know exactly how much you're going to use in exporting the car from the US into Ghana, right? But when you get to Ghana, you don't know how much you're paying. So there's going to be uniformity. So if you're bringing an SUV, we know how much you're paying. If you're bringing a container full of, let's say, toiletries, you know exactly how much you're paying. So that's how we're going to regulate it. And we're going to make sure that we plug the loopholes. One of the things that was said by Ken Oforiatta when he was before the Public Appointments Committee, which made me fall in love with him at the time, was his identification of the loopholes that there exist at the ports and how much we are losing by reason of our inability to deal with those loopholes, right? And that he was going to plug the loopholes to ensure that we save some money for the country. So clearly, once we are able to deal with all of these loopholes, we will be able to have a uniformed pricing system where when you are importing something, you know exactly how much you're paying. The things do not have to get to Ghana before somebody will tell, see a dollar max cost you know. So those are the the issues surrounding all of that, and this is how we intend to address it. There are several other ways of addressing them, but you know, but for the purposes of the question that you've asked, this is how exactly we're going to do it.
For the creative arts space, you are there. You've been there. I won't even say you've been there. You are still there. Absolutely. What are your plans for the creative arts industry?
You know, in 2017, 18, 16, thereabouts, Nigeria's GDP was the best in Africa by reason of the contribution of the creative arts industry. We have not been able to fully harness the potentials we have within that space. Now, because I've been there, and because of the plans that His Excellency Kyerematen has for the creative arts, it gives me some form of excitement by reason of the fact that we're going to create what we call a creative hub, a creative arts fund. The Creative Arts Fund essentially is going to what? It's going to sponsor and support creatives. So you're a comedian, you're a poet, you're a musician, you're a videographer, you want to do skits, whatever it is. The fund will provide some cushioning for you, right? And then once you make your money from your streams, then you pay back so that other people can get the opportunity. So the fund will be there, accessible to all, but we're going to work together closely with the various stakeholders in that space so that they will manage the fund, but you know, with the support of government, so that we would have accountability. I am on record to have questioned war back in the day about some funds that he received from His Excellency the late Professor John Evans at Tamils. In respect of he said he was doing some research or something like that. And I questioned, if you Google, you find it. So the issue of accountability is dear to my heart. And I think that we need to be very intentional about it. So that's exactly how we're going to. Also, we're going to have the Creative Arts Festival, where we will export talent and we will give an opportunity for the rest of the world to also come to Ghana and experience our culture. We only limit the excitement in December to music and all of that. But there are other aspects of culture that we must explore. Particularly, we have our traditional events that we organize. When people come to Ghana, they only come for the fun. There's no spiritual connection, So, for instance, all these experts who say they are from Ghana or they are from West Africa, it's more like a spiritual journey for them, So when they come to Ghana, beyond the excitement, what we can do for them to continue to remain here is to give them a reason to understand that spiritual aspect of their journey. Once we do that, they will stay here, they will spend here, we get more money, all right? So we must be intentional. The GTP is very intentional about expanding the creative arts space.
Right.
And of course, we're going to build event centers also across the country.
Funding?
I'm sorry, funding?
Funding for the creatives?
Let me tell you something. Government is not supposed to independently finance most of these things. Once you give the private sector a reason to invest in that space, they will invest in it. So we are focusing more on foreign direct investment because you see, the thing is that if, for instance, like Spotify, you have, the one of the musicians that I love so much, Kwame Owusu Danso, and all of that, signing to Universal Music. And then once we create that avenue, people will automatically come and invest in this country. Government does not necessarily have to spend. We have the build, operate, and transfer system that we can use.
Tax incentives?
Yeah, of course. We will give tax incentives because once you incentivize the private sector, once you give them a reason to...
It's not all the private sector. I'm talking about creative arts.
But do they even pay taxes?
Yes.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Okay.
I had to pay a huge tax because of a production I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So, yes, they do pay taxes, and their taxes are really,
but the
really
thing
high.
is that I'm not sure you would have complained if your taxes were working, technically. Because if you're in that space, and let's say, you're making so much, and you pay tax, I'm not sure you would have a problem with it. But this one, you have to go and struggle to get your contract. You have to struggle to now execute the contract. And then somebody sitting somewhere will say, I have to tax you. but without factoring into the equation how you even got the contract to begin with and how you executed it to begin with. That's why I'm saying that it's going to be a collaborative work between stakeholders and government. Oftentimes, we are deleted from the equation. They take decisions on our behalf. They do things on our behalf. They think for us without necessarily understanding where we are coming from and the issues that there exist within our space.
But you, Cry, what happened to your music career?
Oh, I mean,
are you still rapping?
I love music, and I always love music. I always love music, but then again, and I've been saying this that if, for instance, the music industry was paying me so much, I'm not sure I'll be doing journalism, for instance. But because we have a system that is not straight-jacketed, you have to do other things to survive. And for me, my second passion was law, and so I found comfort in reading law. And journalism and all of that, So, I mean, I'm a street guy, so I have to do everything to survive, Charlie. So I can explain how I made my money, not like others who cannot explain how they made their money. But the point I'm actually trying to establish is that the young people must be invited to the table. If you look at 2016 elections and the number of votes that were garnered by Nana Akufo-Addo, a larger chunk of them were within the youth bracket. So how is it that you're taking a decision which decision does not necessarily benefit the people who brought you into office? So that is why it is important, now more than ever before, that in all our deliberations, we must factor into the decision-making of this country what the youth want, the aspirations of the young people.
You keep saying you're a street boy. Tell us a bit about yourself.
I mean, look, I grew up in Asante Mampong. Okay. Playing football.
You're not a professional footballer.
I should have been a professional footballer. Look, then I grew up in Achimasafo in the Eastern region. Okay. Then I started music. So I've done music, I've played football, I've been a mate before in Abra in Cape Coast.
You were a driver's mate?
Yeah, driver's mate.
So driver's mates, you don't have a say?
The driver's mate, let me tell you something. If you have a driver who is more focused, who doesn't want to drive a banza, and you're a mate, you sit comfortably, just, watching and experiencing the experience that that driver would bring to bear. So a driver must be somebody who actually knows exactly where he's going, the destination, and then we will able to support.
Okay, so your music career, you had hits, so you shouldn't have stopped. You would have been the next Shatta Wale by now.
Look, no, Shatta is a friend. I mean, kudos, shout out to Shatta. And by the way, I mean, the question you asked about the creative art industry I think is a poignant one, very important one. Particularly because if you look at what individually all of these creatives have been doing, it's something worthy of mention. If you look at Shatta Wale, what individually he is doing. Look at Stonebwoy, what individually he is doing. Sarkodie, Manifest, EL, Camido, Kim Promise, Kiddy, Kwame Eugene, the new song that I like. Very soon we'll buy something. Matilia, Famille. They are doing extremely well. And so if they are able to get the support, imagine what they could do.
So if you had gotten the support, of course, you would have stayed in there?
Well, you can't predict what God has for you. You get the point. Sometimes, I mean, human beings, we will only desire, but God is ultimately the decider of a man's fate.
Are you married?
I'm beautifully married.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Who's your wife?
I'm a Pratt.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's nice. Nice.
This is how you knew. Really, this is how you knew.
Nice. How many children do you have?
One.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, a wonderful boy. Yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah, okay. And I guess Amma is very happy.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, I'm sure she is. Yeah, I've tried to be a good husband. I've tried to be a good husband.
Was she disappointed that you didn't join, probably the NDC?
Well, you see, principles are principles. They are either wholly kept or wholly abandoned. I made a choice not by reason of my death-defying support for any political party. I'm not an appendage of any political party. I'm a Ghanaian. And so if it gets to a point where I feel that the aspirations, particularly of the young people, are not being met by reason of this entrenched duopolistic political system that we've been practicing, I need to take a decision. So my decision is entirely mine. She has her own decisions to also make. And so, yeah, I mean, she can't be disappointed because I've taken a decision which I feel will ultimately benefit the young people of this country. In the final analysis, why are we all doing what we are doing? We're doing this to impact lives. We're doing this to change society. We're doing this to better the lives of the have-nots. That is ultimately what I stand for. And what I stand for cannot be sacrificed on the altar of political, leanings or ideologies.
And his name is Kwame Owusu Danso. He will definitely rap for us before we go. He is the running mate for Movement for Change. And if you think Movement for Change is your group to change the narrative in Ghana, then you ought to go to the polls on the 7th of December and go cast your vote. Kwame, are we ready to do the rap?
Hey. I love the way you move around the dance floor. With a wally bouncing, busy body dancing. Hey, jump around and whine for me. Move around and shake your feet. Hey, 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 hey. Move your golo, whine your golo, shake your golo, bounce it,
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Your final words before you go.
Well, my final words is to thank the chiefs who have shown us so much love, the market women, my boys who sell on the streets of Accra, Kumasi, and the rest of the country. I want to say a big thank you to the young people who have embraced our message. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who has supported us, the media, the creative arts industry, and all of that. But my message is quite simple. I think that we have experienced this cyclical, retrogressive political system of the entrenched duopoly for the past 32 years. It's been NDC, it's been NPP. Oh. I think it's time for change. Let's vote for Movement for Change. Number 13, vote Alan Edasiehwa.
Thank you so much for being here, Kwame Owusu Danso. We are super grateful and wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
This is all time will permit us for the show. I didn't do this alone. I did this with Esiedu Wakomia and K to the M to the J. My name is Roslyn Felly. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.